The wheel strategy works on almost any stock with an options chain, obviously, but that doesn't mean you should run it on almost any stock with an options chain. Most people start the wheel with no filter at all. Whatever has decent premium this week, they sell a put on it. That approach generates some wins early on, and then it generates one assignment on a bad stock that freezes the account for 6 months and teaches a very expensive lesson. I've narrowed everything I do in the wheel down to really 3 types of positions. Everything else is off the table regardless of how attractive the premiums look. Here's what those 3 types are and why each one made this list. And here's the problem that narrowing your candidate list actually really solves for you as well. The options market is not a neutral place. Every stock with elevated premium is elevated for a reason. The market has looked at the risk profile of that underlying and priced it accordingly. Stocks with extraordinary premiums are extraordinarily risky. The premium is accurate compensation for something the market sees clearly, okay? When you have no filter and you chase premium wherever it's highest, you're systematically selecting the riskiest stocks in the market to sell puts on. You're picking the names where the options market has essentially said, this thing is dangerous enough that we need to offer you a lot to take the other side of the trade. The alternative is to decide in advance which categories of stocks you're willing to own at assignment and only sell puts within those categories. Then the premium you collect is appropriate compensation for a risk you've deliberately accepted, not a lure that pulled you into something that you didn't even examine. So 3 categories made my permanent list. Everything outside of them, I try not to touch. Here's the framework behind why these 3 specific categories work for the wheel when most others don't. The wheel has one foundational requirement. Assignment has to be acceptable. Not just survivable, genuinely acceptable. When you're assigned on a stock, you need to be willing to hold it through the covered call phase, potentially for months, while generating modest income, waiting for the position to recover or get called away, hopefully profitably. That means every stock you sell puts on needs to pass one test. If you owned 100 shares of this at the assignment price and the stock went flat for 6 months, could you manage that comfortably while running covered calls? If the answer is yes, the stock belongs in your consideration, right? If the answer is anything other than a clear yes, it really doesn't. The 3 categories I'm about to describe all pass that test consistently for me. They have different reasons for passing: dividend stability, index backing, or specific conviction, but they all share the same core quality. Assignment is genuinely manageable. Category number 1, dividend aristocrats and dividend kings. The first category is the backbone of the entire Ark Options wheel strategy. Dividend aristocrats are S&P 500 companies that have increased their dividend every single year for at least 25 years. Dividend kings have done it for 50 or more. These aren't companies that just started paying a dividend last year because management wanted to attract some income investors. These are businesses that have generated consistent growing cash flows through multiple recessions, market crashes, and economic cycles, and reward shareholders with more income every year throughout. For the wheel, this matters for 2 very specific reasons. First, the business quality. A company that has raised its dividend for 30 consecutive years has demonstrated ability to generate cash, okay? If you're assigned on it at a price that seems below the current market, you own a piece of a machine that has been paying people reliably for 3 decades. That's not speculation. That's a business with a real actual track record. Second, the dividend itself. When you're in the covered call phase on an assigned position, the dividend arrives every quarter. 3.5%, 4% dividend yield on $5,000 assignment provides about $200 a year, about $44 to $50 per quarter, arriving whether or not the covered call expires worthless. That income directly lowers your effective cost basis every quarter that you hold on to it. Dividend aristocrats and kings are not the most exciting names in the market. We know that. J&J, Procter & Gamble, Realty Income, genuine parts, businesses that most people would describe as really boring, and boring is exactly right. Category 2, index ETFs and income ETFs. The second category is ETFs, specifically SPY, QQQ, and the higher quality income ETFs like JEPI and JEPQ. Index ETFs solve one problem no individual stock can solve. they cannot go to zero. SPY holds 500 companies. If any individual company in it fails completely, it gets replaced. The fund itself is permanently diversified across the largest businesses in the US economy. When you sell a put on SPY, you're agreeing to buy a piece of the US economy at a lower price. That's a fundamentally different risk than agreeing to buy a piece of one specific company. For income ETFs, the wheel works when the underlying is stable and the dividend-like distribution is consistent. JEPI and JEPQ generate monthly income from a covered call overlay built into the fund itself. Owning shares of either through assignment means you're collecting monthly distributions while you wait for the covered call phase to run its course. The income during the holding period is higher than most individual stocks, which accelerates the cost basis reduction. I use SPY and QQQ primarily for accumulation right now, buying consistently rather than wheeling actively. But for the wheel, both are legitimate because the assignment scenario on an index ETF is one of the lowest risk positions in the market. Now, obviously, past performance is not indicative of future results. There's a possibility of SPY and QQQ going to zero and never recovering. And if you're somebody that is a beginner and you want to get into all this, I want to invite you to the 90-minute Ark Options Strategy workshop. At the end, you also get my 15 favorite stocks, all under 30 bucks, my 2 premium calculators, and my full trade log template. So make sure to attend that beginner workshop after today's video. It will be the first link in the description. Category 3, the occasional speculative name. This is the smallest category and it comes with the most constraints, right? There are rare situations where I'll sell a put on a name that doesn't really fit the first two categories, right? A company with, a specific growth story, elevated IV, and a business that I have genuine conviction in at the right price. SoFi has been an example of this for me. It doesn't pay a dividend. It's not a dividend aristocrat by any stretch, but I use the product personally. I understand their business, and at certain price levels, I am willing to own the shares and run covered calls through a difficult period. When I enter one of these speculative names, 3 things are always true. The position is small, no more than 5% of my total options capital. The IV is elevated enough that the premium is genuinely compensates for the uncertainty, and I have enough genuine conviction in the actual business that if the stock dropped another 20% post-assignment, I wouldn't be panicking. I'd sell covered calls or just wait. No more than 1 or 2 of these at a time ever. They're the exception to a very, very deliberate rule I made for myself. Most of the wheels problems come from the wrong underlying, okay? Not the wrong mechanics. The mechanics of selling puts and covered calls are extremely simple and they're extremely consistent. The underlying business determines whether the strategy works through adversity or collapses when they inevitably do arrive. Dividend aristocrats and kings provide the business quality and the dividend income that makes assignment acceptable. And the covered call phase, honestly, financially productive. Index ETFs provide the permanence and diversification that make assignment almost impossible to lose over time. And the occasional speculative name provides engagement and elevated premium when conviction and appropriate sizing exist. Everything outside those 3 categories really stays off my list, not because of the mechanics wouldn't work, but because the assignment scenario and everything else doesn't really pass the test. Got some questions for you guys as always in the comments section. Great combos down there. Number 1, what's currently on your personal wheel strategy watch list? And does it fall into one of these 3 categories or something outside of them? I'm sure others would love to hear. Number 2, have you ever run the wheel on a speculative name and was the position size small enough that it stayed manageable when it went against you? Let us know down below in the comments. And if you are a beginner, I want to invite you to the Ark Options Strategy Workshop, 90 minutes long. You get some incredible free bonuses. It'll be the first link in the description of today's video. Get my 15 favorite stocks, all under 30 bucks, my 2 premium calculators, and my full trade log template. You'll see that as the first link in the description of today's video, guys. As always, sell options, collect premiums, repeat. I'll see y'all tomorrow.